What's up guys, welcome back to another video in the diesel build series. This is actually going to be the final video for this series. We are going to be getting this truck driving in this video. I do need to do a few things still. I need to pull everything apart, get it all painted, and then reassemble everything with the proper hardware, as well as get the truck aligned and then get the hubs and all that stuff situated. I did mention in the last video that I was going to be getting the brake lines done on this truck in between the last video and this video, and I was going to show you guys how I went about doing that. So we can look at that right now. I went from the master cylinder and pulled all the stock front brake lines out of the truck. That way I can come back and redo them all in stainless hardline. And you'll see why once we get down to the radius arms why I did that. But the fitting coming out of the master cylinder right here is a 9/16 18 pitch thread pipe fitting that goes into the master cylinder, just in case anybody wants to do this down the road on an F250 truck. That is what the fitting is that comes off of there, and then it just goes to a male -3 fitting, so I can make my hard lines coming off of that. And you can see I ran my hard line down the engine cage tube, down to the frame rail down here, and then it tees off and will go to each side of the brakes. So you can see right there, that's where it tees off, and then inside of the frame rail right here, it tees and goes to one brake line that goes down inside of the frame rail, and then it comes out right here to the top of the frame to a soft line, comes down to the hard line, runs down the radius arm, and then comes up, and then another soft line that comes over to the caliper. Here's a little bit better view of what I was talking about. So you can see up there the T fitting coming through the bottom side of the frame rail right there. My hard line comes down through the frame rail to a bulkhead fitting, hits the soft line, and then comes down the radius arm right here, and then goes over to the wheel. And then the other hard line actually runs down through the engine cross member, up around through here, up to a 90 fitting right there, comes down the frame rail, and then same deal comes around down the radius arm and then to the wheel. And the reason I do this is because when you go to a long travel suspension, this isn't by any means long travel, but it is more than stock. The stock brake line setup, if you remember, for these trucks does come out of a hole right here, and then it's just hardline up until this hole, and then softline comes out and then comes all the way down to the caliper. And when you're pulling more travel than stock, which this is pulling roughly 13 inches of wheel travel on the straps, this softline ends up becoming so long to be able to compensate for when the wheels turned and all that stuff, that the softline can come in contact with the tire, and that's no good. It can kind of rip it out of your fittings up here or down here off the caliper, which can cause leaks and a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to deal with. So the best option is to run the hardline down the radius arm if you can. You don't necessarily need to do the stainless hardline. I just like doing stainless because I know it'll never rust down the road. So you can do just a standard brake line and then run it up to soft lines just like this and have your soft line be a whole bunch shorter, which is definitely a lot more ideal for this type of setup. Everything is on the truck and cycling perfectly. I do have everything that I need mounted in here. The reservoir is just hanging right now, but I think I'm gonna end up having those run off the engine cross member up here and then just have them clamped on. So I'm not too worried about that. I did come in and clearance the bumper already to be able to clear the tire at full bump and full lock, which it clears perfectly now and really doesn't look too bad. It looks kind of factory, so kind of happy with that. I do need to start pulling all this stuff apart now, and the first thing is going to be pulling these hubs apart, because I'd rather do it on the truck instead of pulling the whole spindle off and then trying to get this nut broken loose and everything apart once it's a full assembly hanging off the truck. So I do need to start with this, and then we can start getting the coilovers, limit straps, the beams and radius arms, and then the actual pivots off the truck, and I can start prepping all the frame rails and tube work for paint. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed those montage clips. As you can tell, truck is fully drivable now. Went ahead, got everything painted, put back together, final assembly on everything, got all the nuts torqued to spec, and got our Viz torque on all the nuts. And I did take the truck to SoCal Suspension to have it aligned, as well as have the ball joints pressed out of the spindles for me, which huge thank you to those guys for getting all that stuff done. So now I can go ahead and show you guys everything that we've got. So you can tell all this stuff, all the wiring and everything on this side of the truck is all back where it needs to be. I do want to go through and redo all the wiring in this engine bay. So if you guys have any suggestions on who could do that for me in San Diego, please leave a comment down below. But you can see everything is painted in Steelit. Went ahead and got the reservoirs mounted on the top side of the cross member with the supplied stuff from Fox, as well as getting the hose clamps all heat shrunk so they don't look all silver and gross. It's just a nice little touch, little detail right there. And then on this side you can see, as you saw before, we got the hard line coming down, running down the engine cage, going down to the brakes. And as you can tell, we do have new ball joints and everything. On the spindles, I'm running the Napa Blue Boot ball joints, and on the steering, everything is new. All this stuff is all brand new. I do need to go through and grease all this stuff up because I haven't got a chance to do that yet, but everything is final on the truck. And you can see right here, the truck has been aligned, so I got to go back and touch a couple things up. But you can see the radius arms and radius arm mounts are all painted. Everything came out really nice. I love the way the Steelit lays down on parts, and it's definitely better than the alternative of just spraying it with like some Rust-Oleum. So the look of all this stuff is definitely really nice. And you can see I did do all the frame rail as well, all the way back to basically the end of the cab. And then once I go ahead and do all the back stuff, when I do leaf springs and all that down the road, I'll go ahead and paint all that stuff so it matches the rest of the truck. But just having the front of this truck all finished and being able to run these 35-inch tires on here now just cleans the truck up a whole bunch. And I can't wait to be able to get to the rear of this thing, which will be down the road. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be the next thing with this truck. I don't know if it'll be the turbo kit or getting the rear end done. I want to do the turbo kit first, but depending on if I can get a bunch of stuff to be able to do the rear on like a discount, if I find a good deal on stuff, I'll probably end up doing that first. But I'm all over the place with things, so who knows what will be next for this truck. But if you guys like this little series on getting the front of this thing done, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.